The annual United Nations Climate Change Conference, or the Conference of the Parties of the UNFCCC the COP29, opened on Monday in Azerbaijan with renewed calls for a climate finance goal. Now, as the summit opened, the World Meteorological Organization warned that this year is on track to be the warmest on record. On the first day of COP29, countries from around the world adopted new UN rules for the controversial carbon credit market, which is a key step towards helping countries meet their climate obligations.
I now invite the CMA to adopt the draft decision contained in document PA/CMA/2024/L.1. Thank you.
But what are carbon markets? Well, carbon markets facilitate the trading of carbon credits. Carbon credits or carbon offsets refer to carbon emissions reductions or removals. It is measured in tons of carbon dioxide equivalent. Well, simply, each credit is equal to a ton of carbon dioxide that has been reduced or removed from the atmosphere. They come from a wide range of sources, such as tree planting schemes, forest protection and renewable energy projects. The top priority at COP29, however, is landing a hard-fought deal to boost funding for climate action in developing countries. And interestingly, these nations, from low-lying islands to fractured states at war, are the least responsible for climate change, but are most at risk from rising seas, extreme weather and economic shocks. Some are pushing for the existing pledge of $100 billion a year to be raised tenfold at COP29 to cover the future cost of the nations shifting to clean energy and adapting to climate shocks. Now, developing countries warn that without adequate finance, they will struggle to offer ambitious updates to their climate goals, which countries are required to submit by early next year. Now, the small group of developed countries that currently contributes the money wants the donor pool to be expanded to include other rich nations and top emitters, including China and the Gulf states. On the other hand, the US President-elect Donald Trump's election win clouded the beginning of the COP29 UN climate talks. However, Washington's top climate envoy sought to reassure countries at the COP29 talks that Donald Trump's re-election will not end the United States' efforts to tackle global warming.
While the United States federal government under Donald Trump may put climate action on the back burner, the work to contain climate change is going to continue in the United States with commitment and passion and belief.
Another focus is China. China produces the most energy from climate-warming fossil fuels and also from renewable energy sources. According to a Reuters report, it accounts for about 30% of the world's annual carbon emissions, making China the biggest greenhouse gas polluter. And as the US participation falters, all eyes are on China to fill the void in contributing towards climate funding. Well, joining us live from the pavilion space at the Baku Stadium, where COP29 is currently underway, is Dr. James Kirkham, Chief Scientific Advisor of the ICCI, which is the International Cryosphere Climate Initiative. First question to you. Donald Trump, the US President-elect, had pulled the US from the Paris Agreement the last time he was president, often going so far as questioning even the existence of climate change. Now, while the US has reassured that its efforts towards tackling global warming will not change, should the US again withdraw from the pact under Donald Trump, what are the likely consequences of it on any target that COP29 aims to achieve? Considering, and this is very important, the United States is the world's second largest emitter of greenhouse gases after China.
Very good morning, thank you. So, yes, as you say, the US is the second largest emitter globally. So withdrawing from the Paris Agreement again would be disastrous for the world, but also the US. because the green climate transition is not a negative thing. Actually, it brings many, many positives in terms of jobs, cleaner air, cleaner water security as well. Billions of people, not just the US. So pulling out again would be a huge mistake for the world, and frankly would also hurt the US economy.
Dr. Kirkham, scientists say that 2024 is the warmest year on record. Now, COP29 has been labelled the finance COP because it seeks to increase funding to support lower income countries in reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Now, these are countries which are also the most affected. I've seen the 2024 report from the ICCI. Now, for our viewers, explain to us how critical is it to reduce greenhouse emissions? If you could just extrapolate through some numbers, perhaps.
So currently the world is heading about over 3 degrees of warming from our current emissions policies, and we have to halve that to 1.5 degrees. So any chance to be able to adapt to the changes and challenges that are coming to us in the future. In the cryosphere, which is the frozen parts of the world, or glaciers, they provide us water, and also sea level rise from the big ice sheets in Greenland and Antarctica, exceeding 1.5 would be truly catastrophic. This is because 10 million people live within 10 meters of sea level globally, and if we begin to accelerate the loss of these ice sheets, inundating cities, reducing agricultural land, and having very large impacts on extreme weather as well as this, the water from glaciers and snow globally provides fresh water, drinking water, irrigation, and also power from hydropower to billions of people globally. So if we begin to blast past our climate targets, our thresholds, we're seeing severe loss and damage that we cannot adapt to. So this is why it is so critical we limit them to 1.5 degrees to give ourselves time and a chance, correctly financed, to then limit the warming and reduce the impacts to an extent that we can adapt to the water species.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kirkham, for joining us with those invaluable inputs. For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.